Hi everyone, it's Sandra with the Mortgage Center here. Um, Thanks so much for joining me tonight. We were having just a little bit of an internet glitch this evening, so thanks again for joining me tonight. Today's Facebook Live is gonna be all about how to set up your own Monopoly game. And when I say Monopoly game, I mean real life Monopoly game. So it's interesting. We've worked with a lot of clients who we've helped coach them through purchasing their first property, their primary residence, and then purchasing a cottage or a home for their kids to live in while at college or university, or even their parents, or even purchasing a rental property. Now, some of these clients own 10 to 15 properties. Personally, myself, I've owned various types of properties, right from townhouses to an apartment building to small commercial spaces. So this live comes to you from helping thousands of people sort of take that first step in buying a second home. So there are a couple of things that we're going to look at tonight, and the first one is purchasing a cottage. So how to go about doing something like that. The second thing is purchasing a rental property. So, many of you may have thought about, oh, gee, like I'd like to buy a rental property, or the existing home that I have would be suitable for a rental property. Like, how do I go about envisioning that and buying another home? And then the third thing is financing a home for your children to live in while at college or university. I know a lot more people are thinking about that now, considering COVID and residence might not seem like a good option living in a group setting. So uh, purchasing a cottage, let's talk about that. Really exciting stuff. And I was actually just reading something in the Financial Post today about how people are migrating from urban centers and looking at more rural property. So a cottage can be on a lake. It could be in a more rural area. And we actually have a couple of people who sort of are thinking long term and possibly even looking at renting them as short-term rentals on Airbnb or vacation rental by owner. So did you know that you can actually buy a cottage with only 5 or 10% as a down payment? Super easy to do, yet it's super hard to qualify. So no financial institution has a unique product to purchase a cottage with only 5% as a down payment. But it is a product that's offered through the default insurance providers. So you may have heard of Genworth Financial. Now they're called, I think it's pronounced Sagen, Sagen, and they actually have a product where you can purchase a property, a secondary home, a cottage with only 5% down. Now there is an insurance premium, just like you would have if you were to buy your first house with less than 20% down. So the insurance premium is 4% of the total mortgage amount. And there are different types of properties. So there are A-type properties, and A-type cottage properties are essentially properties that you can live in year-round. B-type properties require more of a down payment. They require 10% as a down payment, and they are more seasonal homes or homes on an island. I know that's becoming popular. Homes that don't have a heat source or may not have a year-round road to them. So that's an easy way to purchase a secondary home or kind of get into that market. It is very tricky to qualify. You have to have excellent credit and also good taxable income, because not only do you have to get approved or be able to get approved to carry the costs on your primary residence, you also have to get approved to carry the cost now on a cottage. Not a lot of people can actually qualify for this program. So what I always tell people is look to your primary residence. So I have a couple of clients right now who are purchasing cottages. And what we've done is we've actually set up a secured line of credit on their home. And so let me kind of go through the math with you on that. And this kind of is a really good segue to purchase a rental property. So we have clients, roughly property is worth about 800,000. You can actually access up to 80% of the value of your home through a line of credit. So if I just take 800,000 and I multiply that by 80%, I get 640,000. They currently have a mortgage on their house for about 330,000. So if I take what we can qualify them, 80% of the value of the property, which is 640, minus the balance of the first mortgage, which is about 330,000, that gives them actually a line of credit, a secured line of credit that they can of 310,000 that they can then in fact use to put as a down payment on the cottage. Some of them are actually buying small little cabins and they can use the full secured line of credit to actually pay for that entire property, which is kind of neat. But that's one way sort of to get around paying that CMH, the default insurance premium. It's actually not CMHC, it's SAGN or SAGN, whatever they're called, is using that line of credit for the down payment on a cottage. Now, that is actually a really great segue to purchasing a rental property. And you would use that line. Most people that contact us, let me just have most people that contact us to purchase rental properties usually have some cash on hand. I just actually did get a call from somebody who inherited some money, and they had inherited about 150,000 and wanted to purchase a rental property. And I thought that was a great way to invest that money and also honor the legacy of that inheritance. But what I decided to do is I decided to chat with them, and instead of just using that 150,000 as a down payment on a rental property, if we go back to the original example, I had suggested, well, why don't you take that 150,000 and apply it towards the balance on your primary residence. So remember, in this case, these folks had a $330,000 mortgage. They had 150,000 in investments that they inherited, and now wanted to buy a rental property. So what we did was we took that 150,000, applied it towards the balance on their current mortgage, which was 330,000. So I take 330 minus 150,000. Now the balance on their mortgage is only 180,000. And if you recall, the global limit that they were able to qualify on their house was about 640,000. Now they have the difference between 640,000 minus the 180,000. So now they have 460,000 that they can use as capital to purchase another property. They were really totally excited about that because now instead of having that 150,000 as a down payment, they have 460,000. So I think what they're going to end up doing is buying 2 condos instead of just one property because they have more capital to use to put as a down payment. The really cool thing about using a line of credit from your primary residence as a down payment is that the interest on that loan is all tax deductible. So that's especially for people who are higher income earners. This is a really great way to purchase a property, your first property, and also get a tax benefit. Now the last thing I wanted to cover was how to purchase a property for your children to live in if they're going to college or university, or this would apply to if you had parents that maybe were renting and you wanted to help them get into a house. Again, you can buy a property for your son or daughter to live in with only 5 or 10% as a down payment. And it is a program that's offered through the default insurance providers, which is awesome. Now, I wanted to kind of be very careful about this because this is not for purpose-built student rentals. It is very challenging to get financing on these types of properties, and because of that, their value doesn't appreciate as much as a normal house would. So if you are thinking about purchasing a rental property for students to live in, either your own child or maybe multiple students, and it's not a legal lodging house, we can actually finance those now through an institution that we've partnered with called Wealth One Financial. And their main target audience is, or target group is higher net worth individuals, and they will finance student rentals, but it can't be a purpose-built student rental. It has to be a rental within like a subdivision, not a student ghetto, and they will actually look at financing those, and the rates are really reasonable. So those are some really great tips for you on how to set up your own Monopoly game. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. To find out, to connect with me, you can always go to my website at skipthebank.ca, skipthebank.ca. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can click on the button and schedule a 15-minute consultation with me. My schedule opens up. Or you can also connect with us on social media through my website. If you go to skipthebank.ca, in the top right hand corner, you can connect through Facebook and Instagram and whatever you like. Okay. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I hope I've given you a little bit of great information on how to start setting up your own real life Monopoly game. Have a good day and have a good night. Thanks for joining us.